Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Make sure to hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. And I want to reiterate the importance of that because when you do that, it helps get this video out to more people that need to hear it. And this is a video that people need to hear because we're going to go over what's going on in the world right now and how it will lead to central bank digital currency all over the globe. So you'll want to like this, you want to share this, subscribe, let other people know about it. So the last few videos, we've been talking about what's been going on lately, these bank failures in the United States, how they've happened, what it means, what we should expect to see in the future. And I think, none of this should come as a surprise to any of you that have been watching this channel because we've gone over this extensively in past videos. And I want to draw your attention to this video from a couple of months ago. This involved an FDIC meeting. It was actually called the Systemic Resolution Advisory Committee. And they basically had this war game of what would happen in a scenario where we have a run on banks. And how would we deal with that crisis? How would we deal with a repeat of the 2008-2009 crisis? This was about a 3.5-hour video. And at the time that this first came out and got posted on the FDIC website, it's still there to this day. You can find it on all sorts of places all over the internet. But several clips went viral on social media. So we had, and I wanted to make sure that those were taken in context because we had things like this woman right here was saying, well, we need to figure out when we need to be transparent, who we need to be transparent to. There are these different stakeholder groups, and we need to be transparent to each of those stakeholders in different ways and at different times. You think, well, then you're not being transparent, obviously. So, it was really ridiculous, some of the things that went on in this meeting. We had this guy right here. This was probably the most viral of the clips where he says, well, the public has a whole lot more faith in the banking system than those of us in this room. Ha ha ha. And they're all laughing. And, but we want the public. We want them to have that faith in the banking system. When they get insurance, they expect that the insurer is going to pay that claim one day. And so they don't know what's done with the money after. We just need them to have that faith and confidence. And so these made their rounds on social media, and I wanted to make sure they were taken in context. So at the time I went and I watched this original meeting. It's well over a 3-hour meeting. And so there was a lot of dry, mundane, bureaucratic details. But we went through it, and in that meeting, I found something I hadn't seen anywhere else on social media, and it was a nugget of information that came up when this guy was speaking. So, again, go back. I'm going to pin this video that I did a couple of months ago in the comments. You'll want to go back and watch that because that was titled Central Bank Digital Currency Will Come Because of This. We're going to talk about it today, so you don't need to go watch that. But you'll know that we foretold that this was exactly what was going to happen. We're going to have this crisis, and on the other side of it, they're going to roll out central bank digital currency. And what caught my attention was when this man spoke, he said, what sort of data can we obtain from systemically important non-banks? Because they had talked throughout this about these globally systemically important banks. Let me get that right, GSIBs for short, of which one of them is Credit Suisse, which is in the headlines today. People are talking about, well, what if this goes under? What does this mean for the European banking system? What does this mean for the global banking system? But they pointed out throughout this meeting, yes, there are globally systemically important non-banks like hedge funds, family offices, other financial institutions that if they were to declare bankruptcy, it could cause a contagion effect throughout the global financial system. So this man's question was there a way for us to get that data, have insight into those institutions the way we do by law of the banking institutions? And there was a long answer, but essentially the answer was no. It would take an act of Congress, the president, the Supreme Court, every attorney general in the United States would have to sign off on this, and even then we're not sure that we could get it. So that's when I said, this is how they're going to push this, because what they're going to say is we could have prevented the crisis that just happened, which at the time they did this hadn't happened. Now we're seeing it roll out. Coincidence? And, you know, what we could have prevented this if we had only had the data. So you've been hearing over the past few weeks or over the past few days, people say, oh, look at the way Silicon Valley Bank was run. They had no risk management in place. They weren't properly hedged. They were heavily exposed to this sort of thing happening. If only we had known. Well, with central bank digital currency, they would have known in real time what was happening. So I want to run a thought experiment with you. Imagine that we had the infrastructure in place we have today, where we have central bank digital currency rolling out in China and India. We have it in Nigeria already. We have pilot programs in over 100 countries are exploring it. It's almost 95% of the world's GDP is either exploring or in a pilot program at this point for central bank digital currency. So we know they want to roll this out. Now imagine that infrastructure was in place back in 2008, 2009. Now think about Bernie Madoff and the Ponzi scheme that he ran and how billions of dollars were lost, people's lives were upended and destroyed. And imagine the government saying, well, we could have prevented this because if we had had, well, central bank digital currency, then we wouldn't have had to rely on Bernie Madoff reporting these activities. We would have known in real time that when he received that currency from his clients, he used it to buy financial assets. Instead, we would have found that he used it to buy homes and yachts and cars and fancy dinners and jet airplanes. We would have known that it was a Ponzi scheme and we could have stopped it from day one. And to all those people that lost everything because of that, that would sound very appealing. And now imagine the same thing with all of the financial institutions that we saw fail at that time, whether it was Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns or Wachovia, any of these other institutions. The impact that caused, the people that lost their homes, the people that lost their jobs. And imagine if you could have said, well, we could have prevented all of that, because if we had really known ahead of time, if we could have foreseen, our regulators could have foreseen this, then we could have done something about it. Now, fast forward to today, do we see anything similar to that? We absolutely do. We see the FTX scandal from just a few months ago, where we had fraud perpetrated on people who thought that they were invested in cryptocurrencies, and instead their funds were being used to buy homes in the Bahamas and all sorts of other things, just like Bernie Madoff. Well, what if we had central bank digital currencies? Well, then we would have known that fraud was being perpetrated. And Silicon Valley Bank, we would have been able to know what their real risk was. We wouldn't have had to rely on year-end fourth quarter data from 2022 that showed their position, their financial statements from December 31st. We would have known what they were on the day of the failure and the day before, and we would have known in real time where they stood, and we could have stopped that from happening. That's how they're going to sell this. They're going to sell central bank digital currency to the world on this basis that you will be protected and you will be safeguarded, especially with people nervous that they're going to lose their life savings and by keeping it in a bank right now. Well, we can prevent that from happening if only we use this central bank digital currency. And I think a good way to illustrate that is this tweet that went out right here. So this says, as macro analyst Jim Bianco explained in an astute Twitter thread, How did $42 billion get withdrawn Friday alone? This is from Silicon Valley Bank. $42 billion were withdrawn on that day without thousands of people in line. The answer? Your phone. This is not the Bailey Savings and Loan anymore. So we've seen all these media stories and news articles that show images from It's a Wonderful Life with all the people crowded into the Bailey Savings and Loan, and he has to explain why the cash is not there to be withdrawn. And so here they're saying, well, we live in a different time when people don't have to go to the bank. They didn't have to wait in line. There wasn't a closing time where they could say, come back tomorrow. All of this stuff just got instantly transferred electronically from people using their phones, laptops, whatever devices they were using to transfer from one bank to another. And so that's how this happened in a flash. And so think too, not only was there a bank run back in It's a Wonderful Life with the Bailey Savings and Loan, but remember the bank regulator comes as well. So you're going to hear the government saying, well, we live in a digital age, and here in the 21st century, we can have these digital bank runs that happen in an instant, swiftly. We need regulators that can see in real time. We need bank regulators that can see these things in real time, because we can't have Depression-era 20th century regulation keeping up with these 21st century banking entities. No, we live in the digital age. We need to upgrade. We need central bank digital currency. If we had central bank digital currency, and yeah, I know all of you people, you scaremongers and conspiracy theorists out there say that this is going to take away freedom. But here's the thing. We're not talking about the retail level, just the banks, right? Just the banks and financial transactions for these financial assets. And then we'll be able to track them, know what's taking place. If there's any doubt about that's the route they're going. I want to turn your attention to this press release, which we went over at the time that it came out back in November. This is from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And it says, New York Innovation Center to explore feasibility of theoretical, I love some of the terms they use in this, payment system designed to facilitate and settle digital asset transactions. So that sounds complex, but let's see what they're saying here. Read a little bit more, see what they're saying. It says the Federal Reserve Bank of New York today announced that its New York Innovation Center will participate in a proof of concept project to explore the feasibility of an interoperable network of central bank wholesale digital money and commercial bank digital money operating on a shared multi-entity distributed ledger. What in the world does that mean? Well, it means they're going to roll out central bank digital currency, this digital currency based on the blockchain. But unlike Bitcoin, it's not decentralized. It's going to be under the centralized control of the Federal Reserve. And wholesale and commercial bank, that means you're not going to use this to go buy your groceries, but the banks are going to use it to make transactions amongst themselves, right? And of course, this is just proof of concept. They're only exploring and the feasibility, right? That's all they're doing here is what they're trying to tell us. It says this U.S. proof of concept project is experimenting with the concept of a regulated liability network. It will test the technical feasibility, legal viability, and business applicability of distributed ledger technology to settle the liabilities of regulated financial institutions through the transfer of central bank liabilities. So, regulation for the 21st century that matches the 21st century bank runs that we were just talking about. It says, the New York Innovation Center looks forward to collaborating with members of the banking community to advance research on asset tokenization and the future of financial market infrastructures in the U.S. as money and banking evolve. As part of this 12-week project, so this has ended already, this ended last month, the New York Innovation Center will collaborate with a group of private sector organizations to provide a public contribution to the body of knowledge on the application of new technology to the regulated financial system. So they want to roll this out to be able to regulate the banks. This project will be conducted in a test environment and only use simulated data, right? So it's not intended. It's never intended, guys. That's when you read these articles and they go, it's not intended that we're going to do anything nefarious with this. It's not intended to advance any specific policy outcome, nor is it intended to signal that the Federal Reserve will make any imminent decisions about the appropriateness of issuing a retail, well, up until now they haven't even talked about that, or wholesale central bank digital currency, nor even how one would necessarily be designed. Right? So, in other words, they're saying, we're not even sure why we're doing this. We're just, for fun, maybe. Maybe there's no reason for us to do this. Don't think that it's coming. We're not setting this up to roll it out. Don't even think about that. Gee willikers, right? We wouldn't dare roll this out. That's what they're trying to make us believe. And then 6 months, a year later, as all of these types of news stories go, where they say, we don't intend to, they go, yep, we did it. And then when they're being interviewed, they say, well, it was always our intent. And you think, well, a year ago, you said you didn't intend to. And now you say it was your intent all along. So, guys, have no doubt that all of this was tested with the intent to roll it out, to regulate the banking system. I'm sure that when they put this pilot project in place, they already knew that we were going to be seeing some of the things that we're seeing already in the past week. And they wanted to be prepared to take advantage of that, crisis, to roll this out. So that's how this is going to happen. They're going to come out, the government's going to claim it's a digital age. We need to have digital age regulation to prevent these quick bank runs, and where people can use their phones and computers to just move funds from one institution to the next. So in order to bring stability to the system and protect you, have security for you, we need to roll this out, but no need to worry, because this is just with the banks. So don't listen to all those conspiracy theorists who tell you that one day you're going to be using this to buy everything, right? But no doubt that that's coming too, just as they say here, we don't intend to. You're going to see, well, they all along intended to when it rolls out. And the same will be true at the retail level when they require this for everybody to use it. And that day will come. And how will they get people to walk into that cage? Well, they'll use the same argument that it's for your protection, for the stability of the system. We have to know these things. It's to protect you and to protect your funds. And maybe FDIC insurance and those types of levels of insurance will only be for CBDC. And if you don't use it, you risk losing everything. And people will find that, oh, I don't want to take that risk. And then at the same time, they'll say, well, go sign up for your digital wallet to receive your central bank digital currency. There is $10,000 waiting there for you. There's $20,000 waiting there for you. They'll use rewards programs. And then they'll say, if you go out and you spend, you make any transaction using this, we'll give you an extra $100. You know, just like some of these credit card rewards programs do. You use this, spend $500, get $100 back. Go out and spend this at a gas station, get this. And they'll go out and they'll start implementing these reward systems that people will want to take advantage of in order to get people used to using it, get the merchants on board with setting up the point of sale infrastructure that they'll need to be able to use this. And once all of that is in place, well, cash has to go away, guys, because you know what? You can't counterfeit the central bank digital currency. And, it gives us less insight into these systemic issues. So no more cash. We only use central bank digital currency, and then you're locked into the system. And guys, we need to resist this as much as we possibly can. No doubt about it, resist it. That said, we know that something like this is coming, that it will eventually come into being. Why? Because the Bible says so. We have right here, Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 17. It says, He required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead, and no one could buy or sell anything without that mark, which was either the name of the beast or the number representing his name. So we know that at the midpoint of the tribulation, there will be this mark of the beast system rolled out, and it will be able to control who can buy and who can sell every transaction on the face of the earth. And people have long looked at this and said, how will this even be possible? Well, we're starting to see this now. When central bank digital currency rolls out, that system, or the foundation for the mark of the beast, will be put into place, because while central bank digital currency is not the mark of the beast, it is not. It sets the foundation for, it creates the platform for that mark of the beast system, because it gives governments power that is indistinguishable from the mark of the beast technology. This ability to see into every financial transaction on the face of the earth and to be able to control it. Who can buy and who can sell. And so, no doubt, this is coming. The governments of the world have made it clear that they want to roll this type of technology out. And no doubt, we said in past videos, it's coming by the end of the year, not at the retail level, but we're seeing now it's probably going to be with the banks by the end of this year. They're going to roll this out for regulatory purposes. And then over the next couple of years after that, it'll be fully implemented to the public. Now, a lot of you hear that. You've asked me, what can I do to prepare for this? There's a lot of fear surrounding this, and I understand that. This is totalitarian. It's evil. But I want to turn your attention to 2 Timothy verse 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Got to clear my throat. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, which says, For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. Guys, there is absolutely nothing to fear here. If you know Jesus Christ, nothing in the world should strike fear in your heart. In fact, this should be seen as a great opportunity, because in my mind, there is no better segue to the gospel than than the verse we just looked at from Revelation 13 and the world we live in right now. Because with everybody concerned about bank runs, people talking about it, it opens up the conversation to say, well, you know what's coming next? They're going to roll out the central bank digital currency. And then you can talk about this verse in the Bible and how the Bible foresaw this almost 2,000 years ago. So this was written toward the end of the first century. So 1900 plus years ago, John recorded this in the book of Revelation. And now we're seeing this start to emerge into the world around us. And when you say that, you could see strangers. This is the perfect segue. A stranger in the store paying with cash and say, take advantage of that while you can, because you probably won't be able to use that much longer. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean I may not be able to use this much longer? Well, they're going to roll out the central bank digital currency, just like the Bible said. Let me show you the verse right here. It's coming. And when you bring this up with people, no doubt there will be a lot of people who will ignore you. They'll say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. This isn't going to happen. That's fine, guys. That's absolutely fine. There's no fear to be had in people's rejection of your ideas. But keep in mind, you plant that seed, And when this does roll out on the other end of this financial crisis, those people will remember what you said, and they will say, wow, that guy told me that this was going to happen. And he pointed to the Bible, and he said the Bible foretold this almost 2,000 years in advance. How did the Bible do that? So while you're doing that, say, this isn't the only thing that the Bible foretold. The Bible foretold the birth, the life, the death, and the resurrection of a Messiah. And that Messiah was Jesus of Nazareth. And you can spread the gospel. You can tell them the good news of what Jesus did on the cross for us, that while we're all sinners, we've all fallen short of the glory of God and his perfect standard. Jesus did not. He was perfect. And he paid the price for our sin by willingly going to the cross, spilling his blood as payment for our sins so that we could be reconciled with God and have eternal life and be in heaven forever. And guys, that is the good news we should be spreading to everybody. And what's going on in the world today right now with this banking crisis is the perfect segue, because I assure you, on the other side of this crisis, they're going to start rolling out central bank digital currencies, particularly here in the United States to regulate the banking sector. They've already rolled it out in some parts of the world. Look at what's happening in Nigeria, where they're trying to force their citizens to stop using cash because they want to force them to use the e-Naira, their central bank digital currency. Why are they doing that? Why is the government so intent on forcing this? Because they know once they do it, they will have complete and total control over every one of their citizens. This is a power play. It's totalitarian in nature. It's evil. Again, we need to resist it, but we need to have no fear. We need to move forward boldly and proclaim the gospel and use this as an opportunity. This is a fantastic opportunity to be introducing people to Bible prophecy. And Bible prophecy, what does that do? Well, the Bible tells us all prophecy points to Jesus. It's all to the glory of his name. Lucy agrees. You can hear her barking right now. She's saying Jesus in her dog language, right? It's all to the glory of Jesus and what he did on the cross for us. So this is our opportunity to share that with the world. So guys, take advantage of this time right now, because the seeds you plant today in people's minds and hearts are going to come to fruition later as they see these events unfold. And they're going to know, that person told me that was going to happen. And they said they knew because of the Bible. Maybe I ought to look into that. What else does the Bible have to say? And if we're still around at that time, they might come back to you and say, tell me more about this. What else do you know about this? Guys, that's what we were put here for. This is what Jesus wants us to do, is to go out and make disciples of all nations. This is an opportunity. It's nothing to fear. It's nothing to cower in the face of all of this. This is something to embrace as an opportunity to do the work that God has put us here to do. He put you here in this day and time for this moment to go out and preach the gospel. So do what he put you here to do, guys. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Make sure to like and share this. Again, the more you like and share this, you hit that like button, it goes out to more people. More people see this, more people hear the gospel that was just preached. Now, today is Wednesday the 15th. As you know, I'm moving, so this may be the last video for maybe a week and a half. We'll see if there's some huge emergency that I have to do a video for. I'll grab my phone, see if I can figure out a way to do that, but everything I've got set up right here is going to be broken down for that move, so we'll see. I have no idea. I never have any idea when the next video is going to come, because I have no idea what's going to come in the next 5 minutes, but, you know, God willing, I will be back no later than Monday, the 27th of March. So until then, use this time wisely to tell others about what's coming and how the Bible foretold it, and what else the Bible foretold about the Messiah who died on the cross so that we could have life. So guys, again, make sure to like and share this, and God willing, I will see you next time. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter and get your copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Just follow the link in the description to get your free book. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Brit Gillette on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.